Good afternoon everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing a few experiences I had with Leo as a newborn that really scared the crap out of me a lot of the times, where I almost rushed him to the pediatrician, but really were just normal things that happen with newborns. Hashtag new mom. To be honest, when it came to prepping for the baby, I didn't expect the following things I'm going to share. So if you're expecting and you want to know more or less what are some of the common things that might or might not happen to your baby, then just keep watching. So one of the first things that you should expect is a skin rash. When I brought baby Leo home from the hospital, his skin was perfect. It really was just like baby skin. It's just perfect, beautiful, no blemish. I brought Leo home in February, so I already had a heater set up. I was afraid that it was going to be too cold in my apartment, and I wanted to make sure that I would keep him warm. So after 2 weeks, Leo started to develop little pimples on his face, and I thought it was really from either drool or breast milk. The redness started to get so bad, it started to cover his face. It was no longer 2 or 3 on each cheek. Now it was all over his face. He just looked like he had the worst teenage acne, and then it also started to spread all over his body. The first day I saw that it was beginning to spread all over his body, I started to freak out because I thought he was allergic to something, and I was like, oh my god, I need to take him to a pediatrician. How am I gonna get the car seat and the Uber? How does this work? How do people do this? I put a post on Instagram and I asked if people knew how to treat this. And then other mamas started to message me and tell me it might be dry skin, it might be eczema, just put breast milk on it. And so I took a beat and I tried putting breast milk. First I started to dab it, then I started to soak him in it, and it really wasn't working. It wasn't going away. Although he didn't look in pain or uncomfortable at all really, it just hurt me to see him that way. I thought something was really wrong. In his first doctor's appointment, I asked the pediatrician, what could this be? Is this an allergy or is this eczema? The pediatrician started to ask me, what are you eating? To lay off maybe the cheese or milk, which I don't drink cow milk. I just stick to almond milk. And she said even that might be too much if I'm drinking it daily. She gave me some really thick lotion to put on the baby that's really used for extra dry skin or eczema. So when I got home, I began to cut those things out of my diet. I stopped eating cheese for a while. I didn't necessarily stop drinking almond milk because I felt like I didn't really feel like that was an issue. It could have been a peanut issue, but I don't know. My instinct told me that wasn't it. When I started to apply the lotion, immediately the next day we saw a difference. Because I had the heater on all night when he would sleep, the air in the room was too dry and it was really drying out his skin. We learned that it wasn't eczema, it was just extreme dry skin. And I say it's not eczema because I feel like eczema is more of an itchy condition on the skin. He never looked like he was uncomfortable. He was never scratching his face. He never looked fussy with his skin. It really bothered me more than it bothered him. I ended up also purchasing Tubby Todd, the all over ointment. A lot of people recommended this. A lot of people raved about this specific product, this specific brand, and I honestly love it. I haven't had any issues. This little tub, I've had it for maybe 2 months now, 2.5 months, and it's lasted. A little goes a long way. So if your baby currently has dry skin, I do recommend this product. It's pretty good. Next thing, crying tantrums. So when I brought Leo home, I followed the schedule that the doctor suggested, which meant feeding every 2 to 3 hours, which meant no sleep for mama. So being on no sleep and trying to figure out what the baby wants when he cries was a very large learning curve. And later on, I would soon find out that the baby had different cries for different things. I know it sounds like common sense, but when you're in the heat of the moment and your baby is having a crying tantrum and you're going on no sleep and you feel like you did everything but you're obviously forgetting something because your brain is not working, it's like a light bulb when you realize, okay, wait, my baby has different type of cry for a different type of need. So Before I learned exactly what kind of cries are for what things, my husband and I had a very hard time. Sometimes newborns just need to be held, they just need to be snuggled. They really yearn for a lot of love and attention. And off the bat, my husband and I were like, we don't want to spoil the baby. Little did we know that you can't really spoil a newborn. A newborn is already used to being always with the mom. So really what you're teaching them is separation. Them wanting to be with you all the time is not spoiling them or teaching them something that they shouldn't get used to. It's the separating part that they're learning. So it's something that needs to be learned gradually and in a healthy way. Obviously, I know that now. In the moment at that time, I was just like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I'm such a bad mom. So one time when Leo was about 2 weeks, I felt like we did everything and the baby wouldn't stop crying. And at one point I was like, you know what? I need to pick up the baby. That's the only thing that's gonna soothe the baby. And my husband and I were having like a disagreement, and he was like, you're gonna spoil the baby, you're holding him too much, you're holding him too much. And just to preface, this is not a bash on my husband. My husband is an excellent father and an excellent husband. We are both learning in this journey, in this new role as parents, but I do think that different instincts come natural to me, and same with my husband. There are things that I am not good at that he steps in and I'm like, wow, I didn't know that's what you're supposed to do. So this is just this particular situation. To go back, I felt like, okay, I need to pick up the baby, and my husband was like, no, you shouldn't, you're gonna spoil him. And I was like, no, this is wrong, he's crying too hard. So the baby was crying and crying and crying, and he began to get so red and frustrated that his cry was just heartbreaking. So I picked the baby up, and it was obvious that we just allowed the baby to cry for too long. Because guys, the baby's voice actually got hoarse. It was so heartbreaking. We both felt awful. We both felt like we do not know what we're doing. And the baby's little voice was hoarse for like 3 days. So that was a really harsh lesson for us. I also want to mention that when the baby was nonstop crying, I immediately thought the baby was colic. That wasn't the case. When I started to learn the baby's cues, then I was able to stop the crying. So one of the tips I would give is to be very attentive. When I started to really pay attention, the baby never really cried for no reason. Every time the baby cried, it was because he needed something. He needed to be changed, or he needed to be fed, or maybe he just needed to stand up. You know, babies are constantly laying down or in a swing or in a chair. Babies like to also stretch and be in a different position. So don't always just immediately jump to colic. Always make sure that the baby is being met, because for a week I thought my baby was colic, and I was wrong. He wasn't just crying because of gas or because he was just unable to soothe. Really, every time I met a need, I was able to stop the crying. Your baby needs as many snuggles and close attention as possible. Please do your own research. Please don't go into it the way we did. Your baby needs to be babied. That's the honest truth. So yeah, needless to say, we hold Leo all the time now. Another thing that happened with Leo on his face was eye mucus. So one day, I mean, it feels like it happens out of nowhere, baby Leo woke up with extreme eye mucus. And again, this happened maybe 2 weeks after bringing him home. It was still so early. When I saw it, I was like, oh my God, I need to take him back to the doctor. There's something wrong with him. Why does he have eye mucus? I didn't expect babies to have this. I don't know why. I guess you expect these things to happen to adults, but not babies. So I freaked out immediately. I thought he had an eye infection. I thought maybe he was allergic to our cats. I thought surely I did something wrong. I didn't clean him enough. I didn't keep an eye on something, and now he has an infection in his eye. What is gonna happen? I know it sounds dramatic, but when you have a newborn, it's scary. On the same day of going back to the doctor, I asked the pediatrician, what is this eye mucus that he's getting? He's getting it all the time. He's also tearing up a lot. He would get a lot of like crust around here in the middle, and it would always look like he was blocked here. So I did some research and I spoke with the pediatrician, and it turns out some babies will have blocked tear ducts. And the pediatrician said if it's coming out, that's actually a good thing. It's his eye developing. Again, I'm not a pediatrician. I can explain it as well as they can. Speak with your pediatrician if this is happening to your baby and you have questions. But what she encouraged me to do is actually give him massages here in his eyes. When I would see the buildup, just push it like up his nose like this and close to his eyes like this, and to just help him push it out. She told me there was nothing to be concerned about and that it wasn't an eye infection, that it was perfectly normal. Next thing, baby throw up. Now, I'm not talking about a little spit up when the baby burps. I'm talking about excessive throw up. So when I was in the hospital, the baby would not burp a lot after eating. And I asked the nurses and I asked the doctors, how long should I be burping the baby? Because sometimes he doesn't burp. Should I be concerned? So the nurses explained to me, since I'm breastfeeding, the baby will not always burp. For some reason, formula makes the babies burp more than breast milk. That's not to say that you shouldn't burp your baby when you're breastfeeding. One night when Leo was about maybe just a month old, I fed him and let him lay on my chest, and I started to burp him. He didn't burp. He actually got so milk drunk that he just fell asleep, which is common. This happened all the time. The baby slept on me, I want to say for like 20 minutes. So I figured if the baby already ate and then slept for 20 minutes, surely he does not have any gas. He should be perfectly fine to put down. The baby was sleeping, and out of nowhere, he started gagging. Baby was kind of upright. He wasn't laid down flat. He should have been fine. He starts gagging, and I quickly sit him up, and the throw up was just pouring out of him. At one point, he stopped gagging altogether, and he just kind of left his mouth open, like, and it just started coming out of him. We were so scared that I just watched him like a hawk the rest of the night. I slept on my bed with like 3 pillows behind me like this, holding him the entire night, watching him breathe. I was terrified that he was gonna wake up in his sleep and choke on his vomit. I was terrified to put him down. My friend of 3 told me it's perfectly normal. It's really just gas that makes the food come back up. It's possible that gas could have gotten trapped and the baby just was unable to burp it out at the time. Babies fall asleep all the time while they're eating. The very last thing that scared me was when I caught a cold sore on my lip. It's not enough that we're living through this pandemic. Now I have to be terrified about spreading this cold sore to my 1-month-old. His little body is building this immune system. It takes about a year before it begins to mature. I was terrified about, oh my God, what if I touch my face and I don't realize and I touch him and my husband is gonna have to take care of him for the next 2 weeks. It was awful. And I called my doctor and I asked her what to do. She's like, it's fine. You can touch your baby. You can change your baby. What she suggested is that I wear a mask and that I wear gloves. To be honest, I did neither. Please speak with your pediatrician if you have a cold sore and you have a newborn. I am not here giving advice. I'm just sharing my experience. And the reason I did neither was because, well, first, I have to say, the first few days, I really avoided any contact with my baby because I was stressed. The last thing, of course, you want to do as a new mom is make your baby sick. So I did avoid touch with my baby. The only time I would touch him is if I had to feed him, and I would try to stay far away from him. And then at any point I would just be like, take the baby, burp him, change him, dress him. I'm just too scared to spread this. And my husband really was the one that comforted me. He said, listen, it's a very small cold sore. The only way you can really transmit it is if it comes in contact with the baby. You're not going to spread this to the baby by just touching him. You would have to touch it and then touch him. It's going to be okay. So all I did was I took a lot of precaution. I did not kiss the baby. I made sure to never touch my face. I also made sure to calm down because I really believe that the cause of the cold sore was stress. So I just tried to get a little bit more sleep. I just kept the area clean. I let it dry out. Honestly, it went away in about a week, but I did wait 2 weeks before feeling comfortable enough to kiss the baby because I did read that when you have a cold sore, it may take about 7 days to go away, but you want to wait an extra week because even though it goes away, it still can be transmitted. So I did wait a full 2 weeks before touching the baby. That is it. Those are 5 scary experiences I had with my newborn, and yeah, we got through them. So I hope this is helpful to any new mamas. I hope this can really reassure you that you guys are doing your best, that we are all learning one day at a time, and that it's really good to do your own research and speak with your pediatrician. Both together will help you decide what's the best treatment or way to go for your baby. Every baby is different. These things do not happen to every baby. So really just look out, do your best, and go with your instincts. Alright, well, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this video was helpful. If you liked it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe for more upcoming videos, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye! Yeah.